Okay, we're coming to the portion of the week, still in the portion of Miketz, and we are going to chapter 41, verse number 53. The story of Yosef. He's down. He tells him the dream, and it's happening. He becomes the viceroy of Egypt, and he starts to collect all the food. Holding on verse 53. Batachalna Sheva Shnei Sava, in the 7 years of plenty that were in the land of Egypt came to an end. Verse 54. Batachalna Sheva Shnei Arav, and the 7 years of famine began. Lavi b'chol came into the land. Kashrama Yosef, as Yosef has said, and there was a famine in all the lands. But throughout the land of Egypt there was bread because of Yosef collecting in those 7 years. Verse 55. And the entire land of Egypt hungered. And the people cried out to Pharaoh, Lechem, for bread. So Pharaoh said to the Egyptians, why are you screaming for me? Yosef, go to Yosef, Hashem Elechem Tasa, whatever he said, you shall do. So Rashi says, why were the Egyptians crying if they had food? For their grain, which they had stored, had decayed. That's what happened. All the people that stored their food, they all decayed. They had to come to Yosef. There was no choice. They had to come to the public granaries, or you had to come to the public storehouses, except for Yosef. Abishta made that, and now they had to come to Yosef. So the Torah says, whatever Joseph tells you, what did Joseph tell them already? Since Joseph had ordered them to circumcise themselves. Oh, this is a medish. So Yosef said, you want to have food, you have to circumcise yourself. And they came to Pharaoh and said, this is what he said to us. We have to circumcise ourselves. Pharaoh said to them, why didn't you gather grain? Didn't he announce to you that the years of famine are coming? They replied, we gathered much, but it rotted. Esau replied, if so, do whatever he tells you. If he issued a decree upon the grain and it rotted, what if he issues a decree upon us and we die? So whatever he tells you, you shall do. Why did he tell them to circumcise themselves? Some say because he knew his brothers were going to come down, and he wanted his brothers not to feel uncomfortable in Egypt because everybody was circumcised. Verse 56. And the famine was in the land, the whole world at that time, that area. And they listened to him, and Yosef opened up the storehouses, and he sold it to the Egyptians, and the famine intensified in Egypt. So Rashi says, the famine spread in the face of land, the face of the land. Who are the face of the land? So Rashi says the rich. It ultimately affected not only the poor people, but now it affected the rich. And that's the face of the land. And Rashi says the Targum rendered which there was grain. So, and he sold to the Egyptians. The word shever is something expression of selling and something expression of buying. Here it's used an expression of selling. Verse 57. All the inhabitants of the land came to Egypt. Everybody came to Egypt. Because everybody knew that in Egypt there was food. Lishbar el Yosef, to come and get from Yosef to buy food. Because in the whole land there was famine. So Rashi said they came to Joseph to purchase. But if you interpreted this verse according to its sequence, it should have been written to purchase from Joseph. It doesn't make sense. El Yosef to Joseph. So you have to turn El has to mean to Joseph. Okay. Chapter 42, verse number 1. Yaakov was living in Canaan. That the famine also reached the city, the land of Eretz Yisrael. That time was called Canaan. And Yaakov saw that there was food in Egypt. Why are you trying to satiate it? So now she says over here that this pasuk is left up to interpretation. Now she says Jacob saw that there was grain in being sold in Egypt. From where did he see it? It is not true to. Is it not true that he did not see it, only that he heard it? As it says, "Behold, I've heard." What do you mean he saw? What is the meaning that he saw? He should have said that he heard. So now she says it means a deeper meaning. He saw with divine mirror that there's still hope. Shever also means hope in Egypt. He saw that there's something more than food in Egypt. But it's not real prophecy to explicitly inform to him that it was Joseph. So Yaakov saw that there's hope in Egypt, and he just said, go down to Egypt. So Rashi, why are you showing off? Why do you show yourself being the sons of Israel, before the sons of Israel and the sons of Esav, as if you are satiated? You're happy. You're comfortable. You have food. They had food. But you're showing it off that we have food. For at the time, they still had grain. And it appears to me that it should be explained according to the simple meaning. Lama tisro. Why should everyone stare at you and wonder at you that you are not seeking food for yourself before what you have in your hands is depleted? For others, I heard litro is an expression of emaciation, that they were in pain. Why should you become emaciated because of the famine? So to throw also an expression of fear. As it says, he who is emaciated, Mizara, he too should become emaciated, Yeda. So it's a concept of pain. So it depends what you're going to lose, how the word titro, that's the beauty of the Hebrew language, that it's a living language, and there's many meanings to every word. Verse number 2. And he told them, in Shamati, I heard that there is food in Egypt. Redu, go down there. Shama. Go down there, buy food, and we'll live. We won't die. So Rashi says, but did he not say lechu? What does it say redu? Redu is an interesting word in this verse. But he was prophesizing. He alludes to the 210 years that they were enslaved in Egypt. According to the numerical value of redu. Redu is 210. Resh is 200. Dalet is 4. Vav is 6. Equals up to 210. So Rashi says over here, Jacob prophesies that now starts the 210 years of Egypt. You're going to go down there, we'll start the slavery in Egypt and start the prophecy of Abraham. So they listened to their father. Verse number 3. And the 10 brothers went down to Egypt. So it's interesting, Rashi says, that scripture does not write the sons of Jacob. Why does it say the brothers of Joseph? This teaches us that with regard to selling him, they regretted selling him, and they decided to behave towards him in brotherly manner, and to ransom him wherever amount of money they would demand for them. They went down for another purpose to Egypt, and that was to find Joseph. And they were gonna find who he's a slave by, and they would ultimately ransom him. They'll buy him off, and whatever it takes, they'll buy him. Asara, there was 10. Maltam Alema, why is it written 10? Is it not written, but the Joseph's brother Benjamin did not send them? So we know there was 10. If you take out Benjamin and Joseph, you have 10 at that time. It is therefore obvious there were only 10. But this is written to mean concerning brotherhood. They were divided into 10, but neither of them loved, neither the love they all had for him, nor the hate they all had with him was equal. Hence, it alludes to the brother, they were divided into 10. as according to the buying of the grain, they were all one accord, one heart. But the issue with their brother, each one was separate. Verse number 4. But Joseph's brother Benjamin, Jacob did not send him. Esachar with his brothers, he said, lest a misfortune will be for him. So Rashi says, and at home, nothing can happen at home. You can't fall at home. Misfortune only can happen in the way. So Amar Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says, Mikan, from here we learn that the Satan accuses a person at a time of danger. That's why we say Tfilas Haderech, because it's a time of danger, and we make a prayer that the Satan shouldn't have any power in a time of danger. Verse 5, I'm sorry. And the sons of Israel came to purchase among those who came, because at that time was a famine in the land of Canaan. So Rashi says, they came amongst those. What is amongst? They hid themselves in the crowd, so they would not be recognized, because their father had commanded them not to appear at one entrance, but for each to enter through another entrance, so that the evil eye would not be in power on them. Why? Because they were all handsome and strong, and you have 10 handsome, tall, strong guys coming into Egypt. They would be ultimately like an eyesore, and Jacob did not want that to happen. Verse number 6. Yosef and Yosef was the ruler of the land. He was the one who gave. He was the one who gave to the entire land. And the brothers of Joseph came, and they bowed down to him. Apayim arza, their faces to the ground. So Rash says, they prostrated themselves to him on their faces. So is every expression ishtachava, meaning spreading of hands if they lay down. There's koidim, bowing down, and this prostrating yourself, ishtachava, where you lay down on the ground. The 10 guys lay down. This was the prophecy. They're going to lay down in front of him. Verse number 7. Yosef saw his brothers, and he recognized them. But he acted like a stranger. And he spoke to them harshly. Where are you coming from? We came from the land of Canaan to buy food. So he snuck it. Actually says he's a stranger. He behaved toward them like a stranger, verbally by speaking harshly. Yosef recognized his brothers, but they did not recognize him. So that's just why, in very simple term, because he went left when he was 17 years old. He had no beard. At this time, he was in his 30s, and he had a beard. Because he left them, he was not with a fully bearded. Now he found them fully bearded. Joseph recognized his brothers when they were delivered into his hands. He recognized that they were his brothers, and he had compassion on them. But they did not recognize him when he fell into their hands to behave to him with not brotherhood. So that's the meaning of the verse. Yosef Ayake, he was harsh to them, but he ultimately treated them. He was very careful with them, but they did not do that to him. Verse number 9. This is 22 years later, but Yosef remembered the dreams, which he told them his dreams. So he said to them, you're spies. Lira says, you've come to see the nakedness of the land. Rashi says, he remembered the dreams, and they came true, because they bowed down to him. You came to see, to expose the land, from where it came easily conquered. You came to conquer the land. So you came to express, that's the expression, because they came to 10 different places. He used out that. He knew they came through 10 different places. So he said, why'd you come through 10 different places? Because he came to see which part of the land would be easier conquered. Yemru, verse number 10, he said, no, my master. Your servants have come to get some food. So Rashi says, do not say that, but your servants have come to buy food. Verse 11, Kolonu b'nei ish echad nachnu. We are all sons of one man. Lo yehoya avedecha meraglim, your servants are not spies. So Rashi says, the Holy Spirit flickered within them, and they included him. We are all. For he too was a son of the Father. Kulana, they included him in the we. Kinim, truthful. You are spoken truthfully, kinim, the concept is truth. Verse number 12. They said no. Ki evas haaretz basim. You've come here to see the nakedness of this land. How does he know? Therefore, they have entered by the way of 10 gates into the city, Rashi says. Why did you enter together? Why didn't you enter together to one gate? So that's how he answered the question. He asked the question, why did you go through 10 gates if you were one family? So they said to him, we're really 12. B'nei ish echad, for one man, be'eretz Canaan, in the land of Canaan, v'hine hakoten esavinu hayom, and the youngest one is with his father, va'echad einenu, and one of them is gone. So that's why Rashi said, for that one who's gone, we scattered to the city. We scattered through 10 entrances of the city to search for this one son who has disappeared. And that's why we came through 10 different entrances. But Yosef didn't accept that. This is just as I've said. You are spies. So Rashi explains, the things that I have spoken, namely that you are spies, is true and correct. This is according to the simple interpretation. It's medrashic interpretation, as he said to them. And if you find Joseph and his owners demand a large ransom from you, will you ransom him? They said yes. They replied. He said to them, and if they say they will not return him for any money, they're going to keep him, what will you do? They said, for this we have come to kill or be killed. He got them. They said the truth, that they said that we're going to come and we're going to fight for him. If the guy is not going to give in to us with money, we're going to take him by force. He said to them exactly what I said to you. You have come to slay the people of the city. And he told them then, I have a special cup. This was Yosef's special cup. I have a special cup that tells me the future and the past. And this cup has told me that one of two of your brothers destroyed the city of Shechem. You're going to come to Egypt. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to destroy the city. So therefore, I'm going to give you the test. Verse 15. Shall test you. By the life of Pharaoh. You shall not leave this place. You have to bring your younger brother. He said he had a younger brother. You'd have to bring your younger brother here. So that's just Pari. If Pari will live, when he swore falsely, he swore by Pharaoh's life. So he didn't say God. He always mentioned God, Joseph, but over here he mentions the Pharaoh. Because he didn't want to swear in God's name in false. From this place. Verse 16. Send one of the guys and fetch your brother. And the rest of you, stay over here. I'll lock you up. And we'll see the truth. And the life of Pharaoh I believe your spies. So that says, if the truth is with you, the hey is a vowelization with a patach, which is equivalent expression of wonderment. I don't believe the truth is with you. I believe you're a bunch of spies and you're going to fail in this test. So he locked them, he locked them all in jail. This was part of their tshuva. He put them all in jail. Like they put him in jail, he put them all in jail. Yosef said on the third day, you know what? He said to him, do this, as the Torah will continue. It says, do this, for I fear God. I fear God. And he sent all of them back besides Shimon, and he locked up Shimon. And we will continue the Chumash tomorrow. We're going to the Tanya of the day. Oops. Going to the Tanya of the day. Okay, so the Alter Rebbe continues in the chapter 5 about the greatness of learning Torah. Zois Maili Yiseda Gedolah v'Nafla, and this is the distinctive, infinite, great, and wonderful superiority of the mitzvah of knowing and comprehending Torah. I'll call mitzvahs maises greater than any positive commandment. Even with a mitzvah that you do with speech, even in the mitzvah of the oral saying the Torah with your speech, which is a mitzvah, you should talk in the words of Torah, but comprehending Torah is even greater. That's Talmud Torah, the learning of Torah. The learning of Torah is nothing greater than the learning of Torah. That's what Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam. The learning of Torah is above and beyond all of them. So the Torah the Alter Rebbe continues. Because through the mitzvah we form in action and speech. God clothes the soul and envelops it with his light from head to foot, from the highest level to the lowest level. So the Eibush just surrounds us. While with the case of the knowledge Torah, apart from the intellectual being clothed in by the divine wisdom is also within him. It goes both ways. The divine wisdom surrounds him, and he ultimately surrounds it. Wow, that's as Alter Rebbe said, this is a unity. That is a unity that's not found anywhere else. And every person, according to that capability, through his intellect comprehending, grasping, and encompassing whatever Torah knowledge it is capable of grasping, comprehending. And this is equal by everybody. There's nobody who can say, I have more learning Torah than somebody else. Everybody, according to their level, learns the Torah. Each man, according to his intellect and the capacity of knowledge and understanding in the Pardes, the four modes of Torah interpretation, Pshat, Remez, Drush, Sod. The simple meaning, the Remez, what it alludes to, and the Drush, the homiletic meanings, and the hidden meanings. Is a Torah, and since through the knowledge of the Torah, the Torah is absorbed in the soul and the intellect of the person, and is encompassed within them, within the brain. That's why the Torah is called bread and food for the soul. Just like physical bread nourishes the body when it is ingested and absorbed within it, food is absorbed within the body, and when it's transformed there into blood and flesh as one's own flesh. Azai yichv yiskayim, that's the way a person lives and sustained. That's why the Torah is also called bread. Kach b'diyas HaTorah, similarly through the knowledge and comprehension of Torah, b'nefesh adam, by the soul of a person, shalom, that studies it well, hate it, be'iyun, with concentration, sichle, of his intellect. Until to the point that the Torah is grasped in his mind, and he comes one with him, so that they become one. Then nase mazon lanefesh. That's how the Torah becomes food for the soul. And it becomes the inner life for it, from the fountainhead of life. Because the Torah comes from the fountainhead of life of the blessed Oyer and Sefer God himself. Hamaluvish, who is clothed in the wisdom of the Torah and are in the soul of the Torah student. And that's why it says, there's a verse that says, your Torah, is in my inner parts. The meaning the Torah became food to the soul. As brought in a Kabbalah, in Eitz Chaim, portal 44, chapter 3, so the garments of the soul in paradise are mitzvahs. But the Torah, see, in the middle, in paradise, the soul enjoys the radiance of the divine presence. In order for the soul, a finite being, to be able to capable of bearing infinite radiance, it must be shielded by spiritual garments. So the mitzvahs that I perform in this world provide the soul with these garments. For as explained above, performing mitzvahs envelops the soul in divine light, as a garment surrounds a person. So too the mitzvah surrounds a person. What does he need it for? He needs it for in this world, and he needs it for mainly in the world to come, so he'll be able to receive the radiance of God. But the opposite is the Torah, not the opposite, different is the Torah. But the Torah, Muslim neshama. The Torah is the food for the soul in paradise. The Torah, all the Torah that I learned in this world, all the Torah that I learned in this world is food for the soul in this world and in the world to come. And especially if you learn Torah l'shma, if you learn Torah for the sake of Torah. Because the cost of Bezoya is brought down in Zohar in Vayakov. What means l'shma? What means l'shma? For the sake of the right reason, for the sake of God. L'shma means I'm not learning Torah because it's a mitzvah. I'm not learning Torah because I should know what to do. I'm learning Torah for one reason, because it connects my soul with God. That's why I'm learning Torah. I'm learning Torah that it should connect my neshama with God through the learning of Torah. Each man according to the capacity of their intellect, as explained in Eitz Chaim. We explain further about food up for the soul refers to a level of indwelling light. While mitzvahs, our garments refer to the level encompassing light. And therefore our sages say, and we say it every morning, the study of Torah is equal to all other mitzvahs combined. Because as I explained, because mitzvahs are garments. And the Torah is food. And also a garment for the intellectual soul. So therefore, the Torah has both. As I said, the Torah surrounds us, and we surround the Torah. Torah surrounds us as a regular mitzvah, as a mitzvah to learn Torah. We surround the Torah because we learn the Torah. We connect with the Torah with our brains and our connection that you can't find anywhere else. So the Alter Rebbe continues. The Torah serves as a garment because one clothes himself within it by the soul's concentration on its study of it. How much more if one expresses the words of Torah orally. The breath of speech becomes the kind of an encompassing light as it's brought down in Kabbalah. We thus see that the study of Torah study possesses the quality of both food and garment. It is thus superior to other mitzvahs, which are garments alone. And that completes the Tanya of the day. My friends, today is Rosh Chodesh, the first day of the month of Tevis. Happy Rosh Chodesh. And the Tillim of the day is chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1 to 9. Please take a Tillim and read from chapter 1 to chapter 9, and you would have done Chitas for today. Have a wonderful, beautiful day. Happy Chodesh and happy Chanukah. And God bless you all. And may this Rosh Chodesh bring health and happiness to each and every one of us and to the world at large. Have a wonderful
day. Thank you, Rabbi.
Have a great day.
You too.